Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
We are elated that you all have joined us today for a very celebratory experience. Our students have worked extremely hard in preparing their capstone project. They are members of the Student Leadership Academy, where they have been exposed to leadership training throughout the 2 semesters of the academic year. They have participated with mentors, and many of their mentors are here tonight. And later on, we will let them introduce their mentors. But right now, they've prepared a project that we are about to be privileged to join to watch. They were given an assignment, and I think they will explain what their assignment was as they present their materials. So at this time, we want to introduce our 2016-2017 Student Leadership Cohort.
Good evening. When some of us were growing up and you attended college or a community college or a 4-year university, that was the place to be. When you were in high school, you didn't skip because you missed everything. This day and time is a whole new ballgame. If you want students to show up for your activities, it's going to require duct tape and a rope tied to a mule. However, as funny as that sounds, it's realistic. This day and time, with the challenges that are faced before our students of all ages, this is what we have come to know. This is a question that was presented to us a year ago. How do you engage? If you have noticed, our consulting firm, our leadership consulting firm, is made up of all ages, all different educational backgrounds, and all different areas of study. How do you engage millennials and Generation Z students in student activities? Free food worked for a moment, not anymore. You almost have to pay them to show up, and then you have to pay them to stay. It has become a real dilemma, not only in college campuses that are community colleges, but in 4-year universities as well, where you have actual students on campus, in housing. If it's not a party, they're not coming. Who are millennials? We've given them several names. We've said they're entitled, they're naive, they're lazy, self-absorbed, ignorant, socially inept. Are they even qualified to run around with the rest of us? But on the other side, the ones that are also millennials, they are entrepreneurs. They're diverse. They're powerful. They're tech savvy. They're passionate. But most of all, they're the future. And in a hurry. So where do you fall?
I'm not sure what.
She's not sure. Okay. That was good. Where do you fall in here? Are you a baby boomer? Are you a silent generation? Millennials and Generation Z are from 1980 to 2010. Where do you fall? At the beginning of the 21st century, many colleges and universities have broad educational missions to educate the whole student, not just kill brain cells. On college campuses, extracurricular activity was the key tool for personal development. For the majority of college and university students, extracurricular activities plays an important part of this very vital role. Students who become not only do so for entertainment, but they do it for social skills and learning skills and soft skills as well. A wide and diversified range of activities exists on all college campuses. It offers an opportunity, but the opportunity is not being met. A student's education goes well beyond what's in the class. Extracurricular activities create unique opportunities for friendship and actually having a conversation with something other than thumbs and a phone. The notion of student engagement in collegiate activities has received considerable attention. We're now amassing the substantial amount of literature that backs up our claim. However, there has been a trend over the last few years, not only in community colleges, but four-year universities as well, as stated earlier. The lack of student engagement has dropped by all college students and all college campuses across the state of Tennessee and across all college campuses. What's caused this trend? We as the Student Leadership Consulting Firm have researched and studied the possible causes and the list of solutions to offer alongside these causes. Have you ever planned for an activity, a presentation, anything that you needed and invited people to attend for information, or just to get together to have a good time, to maybe have some social interaction, to let your hair down, if you have any, and so forth? Sorry. But nobody showed up. Or if they did, it was the same two and few that show up to everything else. Our firm was tasked with researching this question, and this is what we found. It's what we're seeing across our campus firsthand. Lack of interest and empty activity. Our leadership team, Natalie, is going to lead us off with technology. Amy is going to talk about the socioeconomic problems that we're having across our college, universities, and campuses. Natalie will then be discussing job security behind that. Then Taylor will be offering solutioning by marketing, event planning, and educational background. Caitlin will wrap us up with solutions to socioeconomic and tools to help us reach our goals of engaging students in student activities. At this time, we're going to step into reasons technology is taking us by storm. Natalie, it's your turn.
Yeah. This is the typical response you get from one when you ask them to describe millennials. Millennials are now the single largest group within the workforce and will soon become the largest consumer group too. This can be concerning if they're not willing to interact face to face. As the largest generation, there needs to be a level of unity, as they're the ones inheriting the world. Attention is becoming a scarce resource. And if you don't believe me, think about the studies that were concerning in the past, where people were concerned about the time spent at a red light, 2 weeks annually. Now think about how much time the average 13-year-old spends watching ads on YouTube. And we thought the stoplight was bad. Stoplights don't even affect the brain or brain development. Children who aren't used to being without technology have the same level of addiction to their devices as a gambler is to slot machines.
Use it more. You provided some specific examples last night about how a company might do this attention economy. What's a good example?
I think one that's more alarming is Snapstreaks that Snapchat recently went public, because it's affecting kids' feelings of obligation to each other. What they do is if you send a message to someone and they send a message back, you do that several days in a row, they create a streak. They show a fireball and a number of the number of days you've gone in a row. And a lot of kids have 150, 200, 300 streaks. And it stresses kids out because they feel like if I don't get back to my friend, they're going to be upset at me and I have to do it. And so you have kids waking up and they've got to go through and send photos of walls and ceilings and doors just to get through their day. But you have to ask, is this being done to help kids live their lives?
So what would you do about it?
Well, we have to change the incentives, because right now the incentives are to maximize time spent. If you try to tell Facebook or Snapchat, don't do that, or this is not what we want, they can't, because someone else will just swoop in and get the attention. So we have to have a conversation about this attention economy, which is like the city, and we say, how do we reorganize the city? Let's not move out of the city, let's not just unplug. I mean, that's one solution.
Yeah.
But really, we're going to have something in our pocket. Let's make it work for us.
The reason I asked that.
This is Tristan Harris, a former Silicon Valley expert. As the video progresses, this idea is unpacked more, of attention becoming a scarce resource. And this can be troubling as we're living in a time with fake news. I don't believe in fake news. I believe in exaggerated news. This can be troubling as to when I come to you with the calm, level-headed news, because old marketing tactics aren't working on this new generation. Instead, we have this new idea of social media influencers and clickbait. I'm not gonna come to you with my calm news. I'm gonna come to you with what you're gonna click on. This idea is further explained by 60 Minutes influencer Logan Paul.
The biggest companies in the world and brands have come to me to help sell their product to the younger generation. And I speak the language of millennials, and they respond to my content.
And they pay you well for this.
Yeah.
He's earned the freedom to make ads the way he makes his videos, off the cuff. We watched him making a Dunkin' Donuts ad in Central Park. When he posted the ad, it was viewed more than 7 million times. And Dunkin' Donuts told us this spot had the same reach as a primetime TV ad. For one day's work, Logan Paul was paid almost $200,000.
It could be very empowering for the next generation if they use these smartphones to make more informed consumer decisions. Next, we have Amy with the socioeconomic challenges.
As we face these changes in technology, the students are also faced with socioeconomic challenges such as lack of parenting, student debt, and schooling. The research I've found concerning the lack of parenting states parents want to be friends with their children rather than a role model and give them guidance. This leads to professors not being able to help these students in their work, which causes problems. Kids are more disrespectful and disruptful, which causes the lack of engagement. Because parents are working 2 to 3 jobs, they don't necessarily have enough time for their children. This causes them to be less parented. Generation Z is also known as the spoiled generation, which led to the lack of discipline in the classroom. This has also fostered rising levels in violence at home, at the school, and in the street. Authority is the basic health requirement in a child's life. Children of the spoiled generation are used to having their demands met by their parents and by others in authority. That in turn makes them unprepared for the realities of the adult life. I'll next be talking about schooling. The No Child Left Behind has significant flaws. It has created an artificial goal of teachers' proficiency that engaged and encouraged states to set low standards to make it easier for the students to meet their goal. The law is overly prescriptive and doesn't allow districts to create improvement based on their unique needs. It has also not supported the states in creating the teacher evaluation systems that use multiple measurements to identify teachers' effective and support instructional improvement to all teachers. Standardized testing falls under the category of schooling. The students nowadays are taught how to be great test takers. They are not taught how to prepare for the world outside.
Did you know that because of the new standardized testing programs related to the Common Core state standards, that public school students will spend more time each year being tested and less time actually learning? For example, elementary school students will spend more time taking state standardized tests this year than a law school student spends taking the bar exam, and more time than the exams required to become a police officer, teacher, or school superintendent. Now, some people say we need all this testing to increase student learning and hold teachers accountable. But what do these tests really tell us about learning and quality teaching? Actually, not much. For tests to provide diagnostic information about student learning, there must be at least 20 to 25 questions for each skill in each standard being tested. None of these new tests have that many questions. To be useful for instruction, teachers and parents need the results returned quickly, and they need to be able to see the actual questions students got right and wrong. The results from these tests are not formative. They're summative, used to monitor, not educate. Also, the results won't be returned until after students finish the school year. Parents, teachers, and children will never be able to see all the questions from the tests. It's kind of like going for an annual checkup at your doctor, waiting 5 months for the results, and not being able to know which test the doctor ran on you. Standardized tests do not provide the in-depth information about teaching and learning that educators, parents, and children deserve. Worst of all, colleagues and I have been able to predict the test results using only U.S. Census data from your community. Using the results from commercially prepared standardized tests to make important decisions about educators and children is education malpractice. School and classroom-based assessments are more accurate. For example, grades and high school grade point average generally predicts college readiness and persistence through college more accurately than the SAT. Report cards and grade point average measure years of work. Standardized test measures 1 day. All the emphasis being put on the results and preparing for these tests is killing creativity in our public schools. Teachers are forced to focus on teaching to the test for fear of their job security. Kids are being denied full access to subjects that foster creativity, socially conscious problem solving, resilience, networking, and other skills necessary to compete in a 21st century economy. Testing is not teaching. Test preparation is not learning. Teachers are the ultimate instruction and assessment professionals. Their expertise can't be replaced by a score on a standardized test. Let's move away from standardized testing and toward authentic teaching. End the myopic focus on knowledge imitation and regurgitation aimed at finding one correct answer, and expand into creation and innovation with problem-based curricula and high-quality, open-ended classroom assessment. Let teachers teach. Let children learn.
Only 31% of students had guidance navigating college financing. We also found that technology is the defining characteristic of Generation Z. They do best creating and learning rather than test. Student debt. Millennials are disproportionately more likely to start their economic life in debt and also carry higher amounts of debt than the previous generation. The average student loan debt has more than tripled in the last 20 years. More millennials are living with parents than a spouse or a partner. As you can see on this graph, the college tuition fees have greatly increased compared to the median and family income, which has pretty much stayed the same. A quote from Steve Ratner states, "Starting behind often means never catching up." Millennials are paying a high price as the result of the 2008 financial crash. The most educated generation in history is on track to becoming the less prosperous, at least financially. than the generation before. Steve Ratner also states, those who graduate in weaker economic times typically earn less than those who enter the workforce during the typically more robust periods. Now that we have discussed the issues, I'm going to turn it back over to Natalie to discuss job security.
As stated above, in the historical significance, we see a generation with a significantly lower self-esteem due to the No Child Left Behind. The example that comes to mind is participation ribbons. We have found that participation ribbons significantly devalues the award and the person's self-esteem of the recipients receiving it. In turn, we're having these people with lower self-esteem entering the job market. Is your generation's problem really that different from mine? Were you afraid of the unknown? This generation thinks it's starved for knowledge. However, I would argue that what it's really starved for is wisdom. The same value put on education for millennials is not that significant from those of the lost generation. The term was coined from Gertrude Stein to Ernest Hemingway, "You are a generation lost." Hemingway used it in his epigraph, "For the Sun Also Rises," 1926. The novel captures attitudes of hard-drinking, fast-living, self-deluded young persons of post-war Paris. I say this to set the stage for Taylor Maxson, who is going to be discussing marketing and technology solutions.
Thanks, Natalie. Okay. So, marketing and educational solutions. 66% of students agree that joining organizations helps them strengthen their leadership skills. And the way we're going to do that is by building educational relevance and value. So, from a school in New Jersey, Miss Linda, the Dean of Student Engagement or Student Activities on campus, is going to speak for a moment.
First, you have to have the individual motivation. One of the messages I share with students is that there's a lot of value to the things that happen outside of the classroom walls. You're in college to get an education and to be able to create your future career. But the reality is that a lot of those experiences are going to come from the experiences you have outside the classroom. Sometimes students ask, why is it important to be involved?